What if the very first thing you heard as a brand new homeowner wasn't birdsong, sprinklers, or the creak of your garage door, but a stranger screaming across the street, "You can't live here"? That was my reality, and the next year of my life would turn into a psychological thriller starring a neighborhood association president, a paper trail of bogus violations, and a secret trust quietly scooping up homes at suspicious discounts. Today, I want to tell you exactly how an ordinary couple almost lost everything to a weaponized HOA and how we fought back. Stay with me until the end, because this story isn't just mine. It's about what can happen to anyone when power in a neighborhood goes unchecked. And trust me, you're going to want to know where the line really is between community standards and straight-up tyranny. The day I closed on my first home, I had the key fob still warm in my hand. You know that stupid grin you get after a decade of saving when a pile of paperwork finally transforms into a driveway with your name on it? Yeah, that was me. But before I could even park, a woman, later I'd learn her name was Valerie Shaw, sprinted across the lawn like a referee throwing a penalty flag. No hello, no welcome, just a finger jabbed in my face. "You can't live here. That house belongs to my family." I tried to laugh it off. "Ma'am, I literally just closed an hour ago." Her response? "Not on that house. Leave before this gets ugly." That was my welcome to Willow Creek. Now, let me give you context. For 6 brutal months, my wife Lena and I had been outbid by cash buyers. You know the type, smug, waving off inspections, rolling up with briefcases full of money. So when this 2-story underpriced gem popped up, with maples shading the front yard, we didn't ask too many questions. Motivated seller, clean title, quiet street. It felt like luck finally smiled on us. Except, apparently, Valerie didn't see it that way. She planted herself at my bumper, declaring my new home part of her Maple Ridge Community Association. As acting president, she demanded I vacate until fraud could be sorted out. Lucky for me, I'm an IT guy, which means I print maps for fun. I pulled out the county records, highlighted lot lines, glowing like neon. "This parcel predates your HOA by 15 years, I explained. She looked at the paper like it was smoke. "Maps can be wrong," she said. "And if you've ever dealt with people like this, you know, that one sentence tells you everything." Within minutes, she had summoned her board members like stormtroopers with clipboards. Thankfully, one older gentleman confirmed what I already knew. I was in the right. But the look on Valerie's face? That wasn't defeat, that was a promise of war. That night, Lena squeezed my hand and said, "If this is the welcoming committee, maybe we need cameras before we need a couch." She was right, because the next morning, things escalated. Valerie stood on the sidewalk with a measuring tape, dragging it across my fence posts like a furious surveyor. She muttered about setbacks and grandfather clauses. 3 days later, a pink slip arrived. Improper trash container placement. Then another, unapproved exterior color. Then untidy lawn, which was hilarious because I trimmed that lawn like it was prepping for a first date. This wasn't random, it was a tactic known as weaponized bureaucracy, drowning someone in fines and notices until they either give up or sell cheap. And when an unknown number texted me, "Document everything." She's dangerous. The hairs on my arms stood straight up. So I did what any overworked IT guy would do. I turned my home into a surveillance fortress. Video doorbells, side cams, floodlights, and a binder the size of a phone book. Tabs labeled like a war manual, trash can distance, noise violation, lawn photos. The footage was damning. Valerie trespassing at 6 a.m. with a tape measure, Valerie coaching neighbors on how to properly document noise violations, Valerie peering over fences like a cartoon villain. And then, it spread to my work life. My boss called me into a Zoom. "Ethan, someone reported your disruptive behavior in the neighborhood." That's when I realized she wasn't just trying to make us uncomfortable, she was trying to unravel our lives, thread by thread. Another anonymous text came in. "She's done this before. 3 families in 2 years. Same pattern." I dug into public records, and what I found made my pulse thump. The same redwood preservation trust appeared again and again. Homes sold under market, owners pressured during medical crises or job loss. One woman, Janet, invited me in after I mentioned Valerie. Her husband had been on chemo when the violations rolled in every Friday, like clockwork. They sold cheap, desperate to escape. That's when I realized this wasn't neighborhood drama, this was a systematic shakedown. Enter my lawyer, Erin Walsh. Sharp as a scalpel, she looked through my binder and said, "Ethan, this isn't a spat. This could be intentional interference with property rights. Maybe civil conspiracy." We prepared, Valerie escalated. She even filed for a restraining order against me, complete with doctored clips from my own security cameras. But Erin came armed with the unedited footage, and one more thing, photos of Valerie sliding an envelope to a code inspector at a coffee shop. A confidential source delivered them minutes before the hearing. When the judge saw that, boom, petition denied, referral to the D, Valerie warned about perjury. For the first time in weeks, I slept. And here's the wild thing. When the spell broke, people started talking. Neighbors compared security videos. A retired couple showed us a stack of notices they'd been too embarrassed to share. At an emergency HOA meeting, residents lined up to tell their stories. The shame, the dread, the lights left on all night. The vote to remove Valerie as president? 28-1. And I'll let you guess who the one was. But the real twist came afterward. A man approached me after the meeting, waiting until the crowd thinned. "Ethan," he said, "I'm Marcus Hale, Ruth Ellison's nephew." Ruth was the previous owner of my house. Marcus had been the one texting me. He laid out a portfolio thicker than mine. Timelines, spreadsheets, affidavits, proof of corruption tied to Redwood Trust. He admitted he'd used me, not cruelly, but strategically. He needed a buyer who could fight back, who wouldn't fold. And as much as it stung, I understood, because without resistance, the cycle would have just kept rolling. Here's the thing, I don't hate HOAs. At their best, they protect property values and maintain community spaces. But when they're hijacked by people like Valerie, they become costumes, a way to disguise cruelty as civic duty. Order isn't ownership, and community standards mean nothing if they're weaponized against the very people they're supposed to protect. A month later, I got a postcard from another town where Valerie had tried her tricks. 3 families had signed it. "We saw your story. We're not selling." That little red bird magnet on my fridge still holds it up, and every time I water the elderflower bush in my front yard, I remind myself, no one should ever be afraid of their own dirt. So now I'll turn it over to you. If you pulled into your brand new driveway, and someone screamed you didn't belong, would you pack back up to keep the peace, or would you dig in and fight? Drop your stories in the comments. Tell me what you think justice looks like when the bully wears a blazer and a fake smile. And if this story made you think twice about what community really means, hit that like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more real-life stories that prove the quietest streets can hide the loudest battles. Because sometimes, the scariest villain in your neighborhood isn't a burglar in the night, it's the person holding a clipboard in broad daylight.